So, any other tips or nuggets that, you thought, gosh, what are a few other little jewels that we'd want to share out with everybody?
Well, I would recommend to go ahead and just start planning right away. Even if it's just in the back of your head, even if you haven't really given it that much thought yet, go ahead and start asking questions. Ask your colleagues. Ask anybody. Go ahead and start interviewing with some software providers. Just go ahead and start gathering information, because it's a long process, and it's a decision you want to make right the first time. And that being said, you don't want to go back and have to pull that EMR system out and put something else in because you aren't happy with it. It's costly, it's time consuming.
Seen that before.
So yeah, and a lot of folks think, God, that sounds extreme. Ask around, ask your colleagues.
It happens.
It happens. In fact, I saw one statistic from a research group. Don't quote me on this, but I think it was somewhere between 60 and 70% to date. 60 to 70% of EMR implementations are either abandoned or really not utilized after they're put in.
Yeah.
Now things are changing because there's more incentive to have to use them now and make a better selection as far as the criteria goes. Now that there'll be government incentives to do it, and also penalties if you don't. But like Hardie said, it is a long process, and it can take a couple of months just to identify which vendors are probably going to be the ones that you interview. Not even to interview them, but just to figure out which ones you want to talk to.
And my recommendation would be to, once you identify who you want to do business with, get to know them, get to trust them, because trust is probably the most important thing in these type of projects. And if you don't trust your hardware vendor, if you don't trust your software vendor, you're not going to follow their recommendations, and things are probably going to fall apart. So we try to develop long-term relationships with our customers and get to know them even on a personal level, so that we can provide them the highest quality support that we possibly can.
And that's another key is, or on that same note, the whole selection process, you want to make sure you have all the pieces of the puzzle in place, because if you don't have an IT expert involved early on, then you're really missing out on kind of an E.F. Hutton experience. As hey, this is some insights. This is something that can help guide you through it's like the E.F. Hutton thing. Yeah. I don't know. Does everybody remember E.F. Hutton? Do you remember the commercials? I don't remember.
I'm old enough to.
I remember the commercials. I can say that to my kids. They're like, "What are you talking about?" At any rate, I digress. The whole process, get those folks involved early, because they can really help take some of the load off as far as the worry or anxiety over, I don't know what some of these specifications mean, or they're saying this and I don't know what that,
knowing the right questions to ask.
Knowing the right questions to ask, definitely. And again, it is a long process. Starting 2011, January 2011 is when you can start getting that $44,000, or give or take, however it shakes out, per dock back for your EMR as far as the stimulus is concerned. So if you don't start the process now, and it takes a year to 14 months just to get the EMR in place, then you may not qualify in 2011 to participate in that first round of stimulus money that's coming back to your pocket in your EMR. And it's a declining, sliding scale. So if you miss out on the money in 2011 and you aren't there to, basically say, yes, we have an EMR, yes, we're using it, and we can demonstrate meaningful use of that system, you miss out on those funds. You don't get to go back and get a do-over. Congratulations, now your total stimulus is $30,000 or whatever the number is. Don't quote me, but you've missed that year. So it's important to get going right now. If you want to take full advantage of that. We won't even talk about the penalties. But anyway, all right, so we've come to the part of the program where I ask my guests, if you had a question to ask out to the community, anything on your mind you'd be interested to see a poll or survey on, what would you ask?
Mine would be, what do you think of the current healthcare reforms being debated by Congress? And if they're passed, how do you think they'll affect your practice? Will it be negative or positive?
Good question. Definitely a hot topic. We're going to link that up on the poll for sure. Listen, everybody, keep the questions coming in. If you have questions for the guests, please send them on, and we'll forward those around and circle those back up in the posts. And as always, remember, the program's all about your questions and some answers that we can round up for you, because it's all about simplifying the transition to EMR one step at a time. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the next program.
Thank you.
Thank you.